Greetings and salutations, basketball fans, and welcome into another edition of Raptors Today with myself, Akil Augustine, and the gang, as always, Sherm Hamilton, the well-dressed one, and the principal, Paul Jones. The Toronto Raptors put up numbers on cons, and let's just be very clear about this. Very little can be taken from this game due to the quality of the opponent. No disrespect to Australia's NBL, but these are not the same quality of teams that you'd be playing as an NBA organization. So we're going to talk specifically...
A live practice, right?
A live practice, something for the fans. But let's talk specifically about the back end of this Toronto Raptors roster, because that's really where the concern is, especially moving forward in these final 3 preseason games. So I'll start with you, Sherm. Let's talk about the point guard position, because so much was made in this offseason about Point Scotty. Will Dennis Schroeder start? But there are some concerns at the back end of this roster because some guys are competing for minutes. Malachi Flynn, a guy who never got out of the quote-unquote Nick Nursery, as the fans were calling it last year, has to impress his new coach. A rough first game against Sacramento, but your impressions of what you saw last night, and what are his chances of cracking this roster?
Well, first of all, I'm a fan of Malachi Flynn. I really, really like his resiliency, his toughness, his ability to really be professional at a very young point in his career. I mean, he's been on a tough road so far in his career in terms of getting consistent playing time. And he's been professional the whole time, so I really, really respect that. As a basketball player, I think he's skilled, he's tough. I'd like to see him make shots like he did against Cairns last night, but I do think that, you know, he's in a situation where it's teetering with make it or break it time.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't play in this league, but if the opportunity's not there, he's got to make some calls. He's got to make a decision on how he wants to move forward. But there's no question I'd like him as if he's not the backup to Dennis Schroeder, because I'm getting the feeling Scotty Barnes might be the backup to Dennis Schroeder. If he's a third point guard, he's got to come in and impress right away. But there's no question he fits in this league. He's got a very, very good, tough mentality. And when guys are that resilient, I feel like there's more in the tank. There's stuff there that he can continue to build on.
You touch on fit. How much does the responsibility of the point guard change in this 0.5 or quick touch offense that's being implemented here?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the back end of the shot clock. In case the 0.5, the quick touch, the ball movement, the cutting doesn't produce something you want early, then you probably need a guy at the back end, 7-8 seconds, to get you to something, or
create,
be able
get
to
a mismatch,
something like that. And to Sherm's point about Malachi, I've always said this. As Sherm has said, he has become a good young professional early, and I attribute some of that to his tutoring in the Tampa year, being around both Kyle and Fred. When they told him to go to the G League, and Fred in particular, hey, dominate down there, show people you can play. And he played well, albeit in a lost season in Tampa. And then he came back to Toronto and the opportunities weren't there. And when you have that skill, when you have that resiliency, now you can go about trying to make an opportunity for yourself by being a good young professional, pushing the guy in front of you, showing the coach what you can do. And when you get in the game, do positive things. I've always been a Malachi Flynn fan. I always have. He works hard on the floor.
So let me ask a tough question here then. What hasn't he shown? What has been the hang-up? Is it the pecking order, or has it been the not shot making when the opportunities have come? He's in a microwave that can automatically get those shots that you want?
I think it's part of it is the pecking order, and I think we know as players, when you have a limited window in a game, you also put a little bit of additional pressure on yourself. And when you don't make shots, or the plays that you are trying to make, maybe you push it or force it a little, or try to show, like, go for the big play to show, hey, high risk, high reward. I deserve to be on the floor. And when it doesn't work, the mentality from the sideline is, now, you know what? I just need the regular play. Even though the guy's trying to make something.
He's trying to
impress to show that he belongs, and it can backfire on you. So I think there's a pressure element to that too.
Sure, your take?
Well, 2 words. Kyle, Fred. Where are the minutes there?
Yeah.
There aren't very many minutes there. Now, we know traditionally the third point guard on a team is not going to see a lot of continuous play.
Yeah.
However,
Hence, when you get in the game.
You figure with injuries, you figure with, trying to rest some players, he'd get more minutes. So Obviously, he can become a better shooter. It was good to see how he shot against Cairns last night. But I do think that he is a guy who fits, and he's going to blur the line between a backup point guard and a third-string point guard if he gets more minutes, because he can be a point-of-attack defender. He can be a guy who runs your offense. He can be a guy who can make shots. If it all comes together with opportunity, I think he has a chance to really prove. But, from a deficiency standpoint, as you're talking about, the only thing you could argue is, obviously he doesn't shoot the ball as well, but his size. And to me, those are things that walking through the door you already know are there.
I would say this. I think Malachi's a good shooter. I do. And the timeliness of him making shots has not worked to his advantage. But I think he's the kind of guy that over the long haul, and I underscore if, he had consistent minutes and he knew what kind of looks he was going to get and where he was going to get them, that percentage would rise over time. And again, a bit of the pressure is taken off, knowing that it's not life or death on every shot. I watch him shoot. You look at his technique. He's a good shooter. He's a good shooter. I just think there's some other things at play there.
Well, it might be preseason, but the time is now for Malachi Flynn, and he had his moment with the Toronto media, so we hand you off to Malachi Flynn's practice sound right now.
How was the summer?
It was good. Spent some time back home with some family, so overall it's pretty good.
Do anything different in terms of training or preparation?
Got in the weight room a little bit more, but other than that, pretty similar. Just getting in the gym, getting in the weight room, playing 5-on-5 back at home with guys around the area, so it's pretty good.
Pretty obvious you got in the weight room. What was the focus there, and what was the routine? Why did you think it could help?
Going against these dudes in practice every day, for one, I think we got a pretty strong team, from top to bottom.
Did you look at the change in coaching staff as an opportunity for you?
Of course, I think it's just like a reset, you know what I mean? When he first got the job, didn't know nothing about him, but just a reset for everybody. And then once I got to know him, he's really detail-oriented, very organized, and just someone that kind of can get on the same page with, so I think it's been good.
Darko's talked about using a deeper rotation, 10 guys. Is that something that's music to your ears a little bit, just in terms of there being more opportunity out there to get on the floor?
Yeah, of course. It's definitely going to be fun. He's told that to us too, 10 deep, and he kind of lets us know who it's going to be or who it may be. So that's definitely something to look forward to.
How tough has it been over the last few years to get into any kind of groove or rhythm, not really knowing each night how much you're going to be out there, if you're going to be out there, and how much do you think, how much of a difference it can make to have that consistent role?
It was what it was in the past years. I don't really want to dwell on that at all. It's a new year, it's a new everything. Kind of, we feel got a little different spirit going. So not really thinking about those past years and just kind of looking forward to moving on.